In this episode, my lovely wife, Jana, and I talk about hot tamales, insurance claims, and where in the world are we going to get the money for an IBC policy?
Let's do it.
Okay. Welcome to the Banking with Life podcast. I'm your host, James Neathery. And, I really got to tell you, I'm as excited as I can be today to have my lovely wife, Jana, with me.
Hello.
And, yes, I'm married up. If you've listened to me talk at all, typically when I meet people and their wives, I tell them, oh, wow, you married up. And it's really meant to be a compliment to the gentleman.
What does marrying up mean to you?
It's a good question. Put me on the spot.
Yeah.
My
That's
gosh.
what I do. The tables have turned.
You're much more aesthetically pleasing to look at. You're highly intelligent and, above my pay grade, above my class. There you go. And, and while I'm saying that, that reminds me of we were somewhere on a trip somewhere with a bunch of agents and their wives.
Okay.
And I met I met the gentleman and his wife, and then we're standing in line, him, the agent and myself and other people, and I'm like, wow, you married up. And he was so insulted. He was like,
well, maybe he thought his wife married up.
And I'm sure he did.
Oh.
I'm sure. There's no lack of ego in the financial world with financial people. And I love you. I'm just saying. And that was several years ago. And then we were talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
And somebody pointed out his height. And he probably wasn't.
Careful.
He was vertically challenged, which I didn't even.
Some of us are.
I know, but I'm just saying I didn't recognize it at the time. I didn't understand why he was so insulted because
he thought you literally meant that his wife was taller than.
I think that's the way he took it. And the Scots-Irish in me, I can't help myself, but a little bit of poignant commentary. But I didn't mean that. I'm just saying that I was telling him, and it's like, wow, you married up and blah, blah, blah. And he was so insulted, and I didn't understand why he was so insulted, and frankly, didn't care until several years later, we're having this conversation, and somebody was pointed out that he was vertically challenged, and he probably took it that I meant, his wife was much taller than him. All right, thanks for letting me share all that.
No problem. But you do say that you have a tendency to talk about me from time to time in your videos and amongst your peers. Is that correct?
Really? I always talk about you. Is
it always glowing?
Of course.
Okay.
I give you props and credit for the set.
Do you think you go overboard? I have a point to this. Okay, you do.
Of course I do. Now, too, I got to say that sometimes, I have to edit myself, right?
Okay.
And I don't mean to go overboard. I don't mean to come across, too smart alecky or angry or aggressive. I don't mean to.
I'm just wondering if you're
coming from a pure place.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if you're just not setting me up a little bit because.
I've set the bar. Now you got to reach the bar.
Too high. We like to keep the bar nice.
I doubt it.
Okay, so I have an example of you doing this.
Oh, thank you.
That I brought to the table. I thought you'd appreciate that.
So you've done some prep work here.
Well, a little bit, but not. This is.
Okay.
So.
I can take it.
So New Year's Eve. What do we do New Year's Eve?
We drink champagne.
No, actually, I don't think we did that.
I don't drink
We went
at
to
all.
go see a movie.
Oh, you're talking about what did we do this New Year's?
This New Year's Eve. Yeah, not what people in general do, what we did specifically.
Okay, well, we and the whole family, our kids.
Yeah, Julie, who I think, at least most of our clients know Julie.
Sure, my sister. When you call our office, you're eventually going to talk to Julie.
Yes.
Right? And most of you probably already have.
Yeah.
Your sister-in-law, my sister.
And she runs stuff here. My sister-in-law,
the
Julie.
Gestapo bulldog.
And then Jake, who's our illustration ninja.
He's absolutely a ninja.
The illustration ninja. He works here too. He's our youngest son. And then our daughter, Riley, who's still at home.
I thought you were going to make a point about me.
I'm getting to the point. I always take the scenic route.
Sure.
Nice way of saying I babble. Okay, so we went to go see the movie Knives Out. And if you haven't seen it, we encourage you to do so.
It was a great Great movie.
Yeah, it's
one of the
like
better ones I've seen lately because it was kind of like original. There's very little originality left in Hollywood, so that was very refreshing.
And Daniel Craig's in it, James Bond, and
with the hillbilly accent. I love that.
He did. He had like a Kentucky accent. I don't know what kind of accent he had, but it's kind of a southern drawl like that. Yeah. Does that sound southern? Anyway, let me get to my point because it's not much of one. After we saw the movie and we all said, oh, it was a good movie, really good movie and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. What did you do? You talked with Ryan Griggs. Y'all know Ryan Griggs. He's the co-host on here most weeks. And you talked up the movie. And then he went to go see the movie shortly thereafter. And then he was at our house last weekend. And I asked him about the movie, if he enjoyed the movie. And what did he say? It's aight. It's aight.
Yeah, he didn't like it as much.
And he said you talked it up too much.
Oh, he told you that?
He said that you talked it up too much. So,
good to know.
We have now come to my point. My point being, if maybe you talk me up too much, people will think I have like this superior wit and intellect. And then they'll listen to this and be like, yeah, she's aight. Just a concern I have.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting me know, because right after this recording, Mr. Grigg will be here and we'll record the 40th episode. And
you know what we haven't done?
No, what we haven't?
We haven't wished everyone a happy Valentine's Day. This is the Valentine's Day episode.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you and yours.
Okay.
And happy Valentine's Day to you.
Oh, well, thank you, Princess. And there's no flowers on the set, but I promise you'll have flowers, as usual.
As usual? Why did you stutter over that? As usual.
No, I get accused of my my voice, the octaves. I go up.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you kind of feel like you're on the ropes.
Is that it? Yeah. All right, so if you ever listen to me and my octaves go up, I may be uncomfortable, apparently. I don't know.
Well, maybe you just do it.
Okay, so look, why are you here? It's Valentine's Day.
Why am I here? You said, I need you to come do a podcast with me for the Valentine's Day episode.
And here, you kind of get, I talk an awful lot about you.
Yes, you do.
And so I just, and for you that are listening on Stitcher, Apple, iTunes, whatever, and you can't, go to YouTube so you can understand what I'm talking about when I say I married up, and I hope you did too. And I'm sure most of the listeners did marry up, those of you that are married. But I think it's important, I think it's could be interesting for people to meet you. And when we do live events, they do get to meet you, but we have an awful lot of clients across the country and then listeners that we've never met. So I think
you like to put a face with the name.
Yeah. And two, it's like what Nelson Nash did. He couldn't have done what he did without Mary.
Mary Nash is one of the most awesome women in the world. One of my favorite human beings on the planet. You don't get better than Mary Nash.
And you're one of her favorites, I assure you. Every time I talk to Mary, she's like, how are my girls?
Just the kindest, gentlest, sweetest, most supportive women I've ever met. Great example.
The epitome of a Southern lady.
And class.
Right.
Like here we got class with a K. She's got class with a C. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, don't put that on me. All right. So, awesome. And we often share, if we, meet people and you're engaged with people and it gets the conversation, gets to that level, it typically gets around to, oh, how did y'all meet or how did you meet, Mm-hmm. And I think that's pretty interesting because that's been a, important part of our lives, meeting each other. Hello.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Several reasons, but yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so here's the background of that. This was 26. 25 years ago? 26. I'm not even that old, and neither are you. Okay, so about 26 years ago, here's the background. I had took kind of a sabbatical from the life insurance industry, and I was working in West Texas with...
Literally West Texas. No.
Oh, it's West Texas, but the town...
No, West Texas is south. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, the town is Spur, Texas, and it's 1 hour east of Lubbock on White River Lake. And I had some friends that had purchased a medical facility out there. And this is Spur, Texas at the time, might have had a population of 200. Okay.
Itty bitty.
White River was about an hour away outside of Spur, Texas. And half of the roads were paved and the other half were dirt roads. Okay. But the short story is I had some friends that bought the medical facility and they had little to no experience with insurance claims. So they were providing these services and they weren't getting paid, and they had all these unclaimed or unpaid claims stacking up. So I went out there and I think I was out there for about a year, somewhere around there. And I was collecting on their, accounts receivable. So I'm here calling insurance companies all over the country, right, trying to get these claims paid.
Payment. Mm-hmm.
And the average claim was, 20, 30, 40 grand. And so I'm calling on a couple of claims, and it happened to be a large healthcare provider at the time that had a downtown Des Moines, Iowa headquarters.
West Des Moines, Iowa.
Des Moines, Iowa.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm calling on this claim, right? And Jana she answered the phone, and she was like the first layer of prevention to get to the claims payer.
Prevention of paying the claims from the insurance company's point of view, yes.
But you didn't really know that at the time either. You were very young. And did you realize that you were...
Yeah, no, absolutely I knew that.
Oh, really?
Because the layer behind me was the benefit approver, and they didn't want to talk to anybody. I mean, it was obvious what your job was because...
Oh. I'm just now learning this.
Well, because there was a lot of times that people, and back in those days, you would fax in information or send it in via mail.
With the roll paper fax.
That was a long time ago. And so you knew that we were limited on what we could see.
Absolutely.
That was received or not. And so people would call in to check the status of a claim. And if we didn't receive certain paperwork, or I couldn't see it on my end, I'd be like, well, we didn't receive it. Now, the benefit approver might have it, might not.
Had it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and probably did, but, they had monthly quotas or whatever, and, that part I didn't really know the actual.
Right. That's why people hate the insurance industry.
Yeah, and I didn't understand. I mean, I understood what the benefit approver's job was, but I didn't understand some of the internal.
Of course not. I mean, you
tricks
were too young
of the trade to
you.
understand. So I just knew I got yelled at a lot.
All right. Well, I don't really want to.
But back to when you called in, the way it worked as a CSR, customer service rep, I guess would be my technical title at the time. You have a headset on. And once you turn it on, the calls come in automatically. They don't ring on a phone or anything like that. So actually, it was my mic. Once that was on, calls could come in, and I could turn them off with this. But the day you called and the call came in, I had just...
The day that changed her life.
Changed.
Okay.
For the better. But specifically, I was eating my lunch, which we were not supposed to do. And my lunch that day consisted of hot tamales. And I had just popped a hot tamale in because I had just completed a call, so I didn't think another one would come right in. And so when your call came in, I had this hot tamale in my mouth. I'm trying to say my scripted greeting, and I choked on the hot tamale, which then made me laugh, which then in turn made you laugh. And I heard that southern drawl, and all of a sudden my little ear perked up. I'm like, oh, he sounds cute.
Look, living in Spur, Texas, you think I have a southern drawl today, and I talk slow today?
It's thick.
Miles and miles of improvement.
My mom could not understand him for the first 2 or 3 years we were together when you talked on the phone.
I could be in her kitchen talking to her, and she would just smile. Lovely lady. I love her dearly.
And then you'd leave the room, and she'd be like, what did he say?
Interpretation. I need an interpreter. Okay, so you answered the phone. You started, whatever. I don't know, got my attention. And I'm just trying to get some claims paid, right? Yeah. That's all. I'm dealing, packaging them, discounting. I need to, get some claims paid. But that struck up a great little side conversation.
We did.
Right. And then, from there, it was like,
I kind of faxed you a homemade bio. Do you remember that?
I do.
I faxed you a homemade, like, my hobbies, what I like, what I don't like, long walks on the beaches, that kind of stuff.
Sent some photos and beautiful. Oh, my God. You still are. As a matter of fact, you're getting prettier as you age. Full of grace. But that's how we met. It was before this online speed dating stuff, which is...
No, we exchanged phone numbers shortly thereafter.
Spent a ton of money in long-distance calls.
Lots of money in long-distance calls. And then we would write one another, where you actually get a piece of paper out, you write a letter, and then you send it to the person. And we did that for a long time.
And we did. And I have always said that, if you were... going to church, going to the grocery store, going to the bar scene, I would have never picked you, and you would have never picked me.
No.
And so I always say that, God did for me
like
what I
couldn't
do for myself.
Time. Yes.
And so we did start writing. And
he wore starched jeans, y'all. He had
still
starched jeans. Yeah, he do.
But
I mean, back then, like from Iowa, we didn't, or at least... Des Moines proper. Guys didn't wear starched jeans. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, I knew you were intelligent when I spoke to you, but then writing, and you have some education in writing and grammar and English and proper, which is foreign to me.
Now I'm afraid to talk because that's kind of gone down the hill as I've gotten
That's what happens
older.
when you hang around guys like me that doesn't use proper English.
Use words like fixin' and y'all.
That's right.
And over yonder.
So then you came down, and then we got married, and we've been writing history ever since.
That's right. That's right. Best phone call of my life.
I agree. Mine too. We have our story. Everyone has their story of how we met.
I love hearing people's stories on how they met.
I do too.
I
love people and hearing that. And so it's been fun, right? And it continues to be fun.
Most of the time.
We've had our share of struggles like everyone else. Dirt broke. As my daddy used to say, you didn't have a window to pee in or a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of. And back in the day, I'm traveling all over Texas, writing small face amount life insurance, taking money out of our grocery allowance to buy leads, knocking on doors, telephone leads, and that'll wear you out.
Taking the boys to movies, usually the dollar movies, and then they'd want something at the concession stand, and sorry.
Yeah.
You can eat something when we get home. You can last 2 hours. They'd be like, oh, man. They go with friends. They get the popcorn and the Milk Duds and the Cokes and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But, yes, I remember those days fondly now. Because it took some stick-to-itiveness to make it through that. A young marriage, young people,
no money. Broke.
Kids. Yeah.
Now I always thought and still believe today that, I might not be the smartest guy. I might not be the first guy in line. But I can outwork anyone. That's the way
true.
I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why, even though we have said in the past that, we wouldn't necessarily have picked one another if, it would have been at a regular social scene. I think fundamentally where we're alike is where it's important. And when we met, I think we were both kind of battered and bruised, figuratively speaking, from past relationships. And what we found in one another was kind of that safe space, that friendship, and I think building our base on that foundation of, of staying together no matter what, and finding solace in each other and in our family.
It helps if you move them 1,200 miles away from home,
That does help because I can't run to mom's house and complain about you.
She did move down from...
And I couldn't afford the long distance calls and complain about you either, so I just had to...
And I too, and we were full of ambition too.
Yeah,
we didn't have anything but hard work, ambition, and these foundational principles of love and support, and long-term commitments, which, is very important.
I've always said that, especially back then, we were the king and queen of making do. We could make do, make it work, make it happen. You just
look around there. There's no dependency on anything else other than each other.
You've got to make do. You've got to figure it out.
All right. Yeah. And I remember the first time I went, when I drove up to Des Moines, Iowa. I have done a lot of traveling since then, but prior to that, I had never been to Iowa. And I remember driving up there in these cornfields. My gosh, they were 10, 12 feet tall corn stalks, emerald green, growing up the sides of rolling hills. It was so beautiful. And I come from West Texas, a dryland cotton, dryland maize. And
the corn is totally different up north versus
yeah. Hey, have you had that, peaches and cream from Grimes?
From Grimes. Yeah. Peaches and cream, corn on the cob. It will change the way you think about corn. It is so sweet and so good.
Right.
True story.
And so I gotta say that when I was driving, in downtown West Des Moines, which back in the day was the uppity end of Des Moines. Okay, it was almost
the end.
It was almost unreal to me. Every car or every house was pristine, flower bed, green grass, tall trees, 2 cars, a blonde dog. A swing
equally
set.
blonde child.
It was almost like Stepford wise. Everything was so pristine, and it's it was a little different for a country boy from Fort Worth, Texas. But beautiful people, and it was.
Absolutely. I didn't appreciate it at the time.
Well, yeah.
Because you're young and you think, oh, there's something better out there, and it's boring old Des Moines, and. I go back there now, and Des Moines is fabulous. It's a beautiful city.
Beautiful people, beautiful city.
One of the best farmers markets I've ever been to. They have all sorts of festivals, and of course my favorite people are there too. So
yeah, and
that helps.
the insurance industry has recognized the work ethic and the people of the Midwest. That's why they coagulate there. The insurance companies, right?
Midwest is best. Go Chiefs.
Okay, so back in that day,
this is gonna air after the Super Bowl. So, yay, the Chiefs won! Yay, yay, Packers! Yay, Titans! Yay, 49ers! I think I have them all accounted for. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I was just going to say, running around all over the country writing, small face amount, easy issue life insurance. Taking money out of our groceries to buy these god-awful leads and knocking on doors and, doing it the traditional industry way. And of course, our practice has evolved several iterations. From there, everybody and all your friends, which I never liked that. I do have friends or family that are clients, but, I don't. That is so 1950s. But then, the phone leads, the direct mail leads, then the phone leads. Discovering quickly that you can't be all things to all people. You got to specialize, kind of a thing.
Well, and sorry to interrupt you, but
no, please continue.
And here is where
I'm used to it.
True story. But this is also where you don't give yourself enough credit, and I'm gonna talk sweetly about you for a second, because you're not and never have been the stereotypical life insurance salesman. People sometimes cringe when they hear the words life insurance, or God forbid you're a salesman. That just automatically means that you're going to do wrong by people. And you've always, from day one, done right by people. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it firsthand, where you will turn someone down for a certain product, or they'll want something, and you'll say, this is not for you. This is not in your current circumstance, financially speaking. This is not, or health-wise, or whatever the case may be. This is not right by you. And you will lead them in a different direction, or even, tell them to go somewhere, get all their, legal affairs in order, whatever the case may be. Whatever is right by them. And, not everyone in your industry does that. Any industry is like that. You'll have those that, are always doing the right thing. But that also is a testament to you, because that's how you approach things. And, you have a very strong conviction of right and wrong. And you don't ever want to be on the wrong side.
That's right.
And so you want to do right by people. And I know I'm biased because I'm your wife, but, I've always admired that about you.
Well,
especially when, you have $5 in your bank account, and that bills are coming due, but you're still going to do right by a client, even if that means sacrificing a commission or
foregoing
paycheck.
Income from that particular transaction.
Yeah. So, sorry, I had to talk you up for a second because I think
all
that's
right. Well,
important.
thank you for saying that. And it's like I remember back in that day, if funds were low or Christmas or birthdays or whatever, you go back and there was a history, of course. We both have a history, prior to meeting. But, I grew up, I was a carpenter's helper, roofer's helper, and I know how to work, lay tile, blah, 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 remodel. I've done a bunch of the hang doors and windows, back in the day. So, my tool bag I still have in my truck. I'm just saying if we needed more money for whatever, I would go into the construction.
Swing a hammer.
I can swing a hammer. My tools today get $100 a day just for showing up on the job. My truck gets $250, right? I'm just saying that I'm not afraid of hard work. Now, the older I get, I've done my share in someone else's, so I'm not really, I need to let the younger people have their opportunity to enjoy hard work.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for saying that. And from traveling all over the world, Texas, from the Valley of McAllen to East Texas, Marshall, Texas, the next town over is Louisiana.
Yeah. If you've never been to Texas, it's a big state.
It is a big state.
I knew it was a big state before I moved here, but until you drive around it, I'm used to Iowa where, border to border, east to west is maybe 3 hours, I think.
I've never driven across Iowa. I don't know.
I have. Well, not, point A on the west side and point B on the east side. But, from Des Moines, which is kind of in the middle, I've gone to the west side and I've gone to the east side, like Iowa City, the Quad Cities, all that kind of stuff is over there. Anyway,
I'm going to have to pull out a map to look at all these towns.
Well, when you're from Iowa, everyone, if someone knows someone else from Iowa, they just assume that I know them.
Sure.
Because they assume Iowa is that small. It's not. And I don't know every little town in Iowa. But I'm just saying, then you come to somewhere like Texas, and how long do you think it would take, like El Paso, Panhandle, all the way down to?
Well, El Paso is in far west Texas. So if we go up to
what was,
I know in the top of the Panhandle, Pampa up there. I've been to Guymon, Oklahoma, which is in the Oklahoma Panhandle. So you go to the very top of the Panhandle of Texas, to the very south tip of South Padre, and you're driving over 14 hours.
Yeah.
So I know from Fort Worth, Texas, driving to West Des Moines, Iowa, which we've done for over 25 years, that's a 12-hour drive.
12 hours, yeah.
And you're going through 4 or 5 states. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's a big place. Everything is bigger in Texas, our hospitality and all of that.
Oh, I love Texas.
All right, so, and we're going to, get to some other points that, our practice has, developed with technology and time and experience and focus on specialties and different things. But we went from mail card leads to telephone leads, with the automated dialer and all that, to telephone set leads that you're buying. Then went into the seminar, retirement seminars, and probably to around 2003-ish, somewhere around there. And so I'm a Waterboy for a great individual presenter. Come to find out he was less than, he did his business the way I would not.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm a slow learner. It took me a couple of years to figure that out. But when I did, I left, and I'm doing retirement seminars, selling cows, getting State Farm claims on the truck to fund those bad boys. They're expensive. So you do a retirement seminar, you talk for an hour, hour and a half, which is a great leap for me to be able to get in front of a room and talk in front of people, right? And I'm the kind of guy that I can't use scripts. I have to know the material and then just talk off the cuff, or I can't use a script. It's just not me. So, and just the mere fact of being in front of people, you know, I mean, I was continually stretching myself, and I was continually stretching us in our budget, right?
Do you remember, real quick, I'm going to interrupt you again. Shock of shocks. One of the first seminars you did by yourself?
I do exactly remember.
And do you remember you got so nervous you had to go stand in the freezer, that the manager opened up the freezer of the restaurant for you so you could go stand in
Out of pity he had for me. He's like, come here, young man.
Oh, it was so sweet.
That was the second or third one.
Yes,
right.
You had gotten so nervous about being out in front of these people. And
I don't know why, but let me tell you about the first one I did. So I'm working with this guy, and I'm just his water boy. I'm setting up the room, setting up all the equipment, tearing it down, signing people in, giving them name tags, and blah blah blah. If he turned around with an empty hand and needed something, by God, I had what he needed in the hand. Yeah. He didn't have to. He just, you know, and that came from the days of being a carpenter's helper. You know, when they had an empty hand, you better know what to put in it. And
what tool to put in there. Yep.
Yeah. The first one, and I'd been following this guy around, his water boy, for probably a year, somewhere around there. And he was like trying to kick me off, you know, it's like, leave me alone. And how that happened was he had a seminar set up in Waco, actually 2 seminars, like on a Tuesday and a Thursday. Mm-hmm. And like the week before, he's like, oh, James, I'm going to be out of town. I can't do those. So you have to do them. And I'm like, what? And so we had to go buy projectors, the screen, and all of that stuff, and do the print of the handout material. Yep. And we're in a restaurant, and after that presentation, an attendee from the seminar came up to me, and he said, that is a beautiful blue shirt. You know, this is the kind of undershirt that I wear because, and I had these sweat rings underneath my arms. And even before I started, the guy was there to set, you know, the guy that I had been a water boy for, you know, he said he wasn't going to be there. Well, he showed up that morning to get me going. Mm-hmm. And he's like, my gosh, man, get a hold of yourself. And the knot in my tie, which is a double Windsor when I wear one, it was wet. The knot of my tie was wet with sweat. Yeah. I mean, talk about stretching yourself and getting out of your comfort zone. I mean,
it was the best thing you ever did, though.
It is, because it made me improve.
Yes.
You know, and yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah, absolutely. So
we did that for several years. Uh-huh. And then and
that's
Nelson.
Around the time that Julie
came
around.
No, she was working here before. She was working with me before then.
Before the seminars?
Yeah, because she was setting appointments where I'm going out.
Yeah, she started part-time doing that. So, yeah, I remember. Okay,
running 10 appointments a day all over the country. And the experience and the people, you know, I still have clients from 30 years ago.
I know.
You know, and the reason we lose clients is because they graduate.
Yep.
You know, that's pretty cool. And now, and you hear about it in the financial services industry, the next generation. We've got an awful lot of clients that are the next generation and the next generation.
It's true.
You know, and when you're a young man and you hear that, you know, I can hear it. I speak English. I understand English. But to experience that is a completely different level of understanding. Yeah. You know, which I think that's awesome. Me too. So then I met Nelson, right, and had already been doing retirement seminars. And then we started inviting Nelson to North Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area, 1 to 2 or 3 times a year when he would deliver his 10-hour presentations. And they were most of the time over 2 days. We'd do 2 to 4 hours the night before, and then he would do like 6 hours to 8 hours the next day. And I talk a lot about some of our experiences with my clients, our clients, and prospective clients, and I kind of want to bring some of that up.
Oh dear. Okay.
Okay. All right. So And we have photos. Riley, our youngest daughter, our only daughter, youngest child, is 12. And so we were just talking about that while we were driving here to the office this morning, that we have photos of pre-Riley with you, Nelson, and I.
Okay.
And then we have photos where you're carrying Riley.
Yeah, it'd be a little thing.
No, she hadn't shown up on the scene yet. Your
I was carrying Riley.
Yeah, you were with child.
Oh, okay.
So you were pregnant with Riley.
Gotcha.
You, Nelson, and I. And then we have photos of you, little bitty baby Riley, Nelson, and I. Mm-hmm. So this has, been a while.
I remember the first time Nelson saw Riley, he's like, "Oh, you two do good work." I love that. Right. Like, look at you. You two do good work.
I remember when you got your degree, Nelson said, "Oh, have you ever slept with the..."
Oh, dear. Oh, gosh.
This is probably, he said, what did he say? He said, "Oh, you probably never slept with an English major." And I'm like, "No, I haven't." Okay, so Nelson comes around. You help set up. It's an awful lot of work setting up live events, which,
the
this
planning,
is going to come out.
The preparation.
To set up, to tear down.
I was Julie's water boy. Because Julie really, I have to give her props for that. Because she, and that was unknown for all of us in hosting and putting on events, and the amount of time, effort, and energy to pull off a good event where the attendees are comfortable, all their needs are met, the speakers, all their needs are met,
the audio, video works,
everything works, and if there are hiccups, they're addressed, and to make it seem seamless and effortless is not easy. and Julie does it all with such grace.
She makes it look easy.
And she works hard at doing that. And so now when I go places, different events and conferences and stuff like that, I always make sure to tell people, I appreciate all their hard work because, now we know what it takes. And so, so I was Julie's water boy, just whatever you need, tell me what to go get, Fill the pitchers, put the name cards on, that kind of stuff.
So this is a Valentine episode, so obviously it's going to be out in February. But we do have a live event in the planning. We've gotten away from live events over the last couple of years because we moved into the audio and visual and putting content out online and creating client-only access content. But if you're hearing this, we will have a live event in close proximity to Fort Worth, Texas. I think it looks like it's going to be April or May of 2020.
This year, so just a few months from now. Mm-hmm. And actually, I think we're kind of excited to host an event. It's been so long that it's kind of fun to get back into those waters, and especially now that we have some experience with it, and a lot of what not to do. Some experience.
We have 15 years of experience. I mean, Julie, I think we do a really good live event.
We do. We have some awesome live events. We really do. Lots of good food, lots of good discussion, good information, and then just being able to meet everyone, and then the attendees meeting themselves, meeting one another.
A lot of networking.
Yeah, a lot of networking and a lot of, getting an idea of what other people are doing, and it kind of bolsters your own.
There's real value in that. Listen, Nelson Nash was paying $18,000 in life insurance premium in 1980, which I often say that's the equivalent of over $50,000 in annual premium today. All right, how many people do you know that is paying $50,000 or more in life insurance premium? Right, and so whenever you have a live event and people can come in and meet other people, because really you're almost like the Lone Ranger. If you're paying high premium life insurance, I bet you don't know 5 people that you work with and it's in your circle that are doing the same. And if you tell them what you're doing, they're going to look at you like, you're an alien and you're the dumbest person on the planet, because everybody knows life insurance is the world's worst place to put money, but they don't know what you know. And I'm just saying, when you have a live event and you have other people, the whomever they are, from the all-American average family that is just financing automobiles to, the real estate guru that is financing syndicated deals. We're all doing something different. And whenever you can meet other people
who are like-minded.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
Game
a home
changer.
run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I want to get to because I talk to when we have conversations, even with Julie, having conversations with people that call, we do not allow people to become clients if they're married and their husband and wife, the spouses are not on the same page.
Yes.
All right. So typically in the all-American family, one person, gets wind of this idea, does the research, does the vetting, and if they're all excited about it, and then the other spouse, and it could be either male or female, the other spouse, doesn't necessarily run the
You're
money.
You're out of your mind.
Yeah,
what are you thinking?
Yeah. My CPA friend, or I work for a CPA firm, and we've got to do qualified plan, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. The husband and the wife are not on the same page.
It won't work.
It won't work.
No.
All right. So I meet Nelson. I've been driving all over Texas. The, business iteration has changed, or the business kind of develops. And here we are inviting Nelson Nash to Fort Worth, Texas. Mm-hmm. And of course we had already purchased, and we started too small, like everybody does. After 14 years in the life insurance business, I'm starting too small. All right. But so we have a couple of policies going. Nelson's coming to town.
And I really didn't understand what we were doing or why we were doing it necessarily.
And so every time he came to town, I'm buying more life insurance, and you've got to give blood, or I've got to give blood. And I don't know if it was a fourth or fifth policy that we purchased, mm-hmm. but I said, well, we're gonna do this. We're gonna buy another policy. And you literally got angry with me, mm-hmm. and you said, where are we going to get the money? And I said, I don't know.
That was not the right answer.
And you got even more angry.
Yeah.
It was, you were legitimately mad at me, or angry.
Yeah, I was, because, for several different reasons. Number one, I really didn't understand what you were doing and why you were doing it. And my mindset at the time, if this was before Riley, I can't remember,
It's right there around.
I know I wanted to have a baby. I had that biological clock a-ticking. And I also have seen friends that had new homes and new fancy stuff and new cars and fun vacations and everything. And, here you wanted to put the money that we could put towards something like that into life insurance. And I had learned early on, like, my strengths are not in, like, the math and sciences. And
her father's a math major.
This mother's
girl
a math major.
Could be a math major.
No, but my brain does not enjoy it. Right. Riley is much like you. She loves mathematics. It comes easy to her. She gets the concept, and she runs with it. Me, I struggle. It doesn't come easy. I can learn an equation. I can plug the values in and all that kind of stuff. But
I'm rolling my eyes on.
I would rather have a root canal. Is what I'm saying. I like more the arts and English and sociology and that kind of stuff. So I say all that to say that with your business, and I used to tell people all the time, when we would come together at the end of the day, especially when I had gone back to school for my English degree, that we would bore each other for the first hour we saw each other, because we would say, how was your day? And I would talk whatever my English assignment was or whatever, and you'd kind of get that glazed over look after a while and be like, oh, that's great, I'm glad you had a good day. And
feeling somewhat
and then judged. I would kind of be like,
English.
So how was your day? Because I knew he was going to say something equally boring to me, and I wouldn't understand. Not that I didn't care if you had a good day or not, but when you got into, financial jargon. I would tend to start thinking of what to make for dinner and what's on TV
the clock
tonight.
would start on the conversation.
I would get that. And then my glazed look would kind of do this after a while. And so we just were different that way. But I knew, like you said before, that you were a hard worker. I knew how smart you were because, believe me, when I had gone back to school, and you have to take a lot of prerequisite courses, whether it's in history, some mathematics and science, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a couple of more semesters, and you could have an MBA if you wanted. Yeah. You had to take a lot of business and. Yeah.
But I'm just saying that you completed a lot of my homework for me because I remember taking a history. I mean, you're just so well-read and well-rounded as a student, and I think everyone who has listened to your podcast or knows of you knows that you love being a student. You love learning. Like, he doesn't watch TV to be entertained. He doesn't read to be entertained. That's what I do. You read or watch programs or listen to things online to educate yourself. I think almost too much so. Like, oh, let's watch something entertaining. And you're like, I
went to Knives Out.
You did. We got, 90 minutes of your time. But I'm just saying you like to learn. So, again, the scenic route with my storytelling. When we started with the policies, and you had said, you had met Nelson, and you were just amazed by infinite banking and what it can do, and how important it is to teach people this stuff. And this is, going to be, I think I've already used the word game changer, but it's going to be a game changer for people's finances and whatnot. A lot of me, I was just nodding, going along like, okay, because I didn't know how to challenge you on it. I didn't know, and I didn't necessarily want to challenge you on it. I knew what I wanted at that point, and that was to expand our family and fix up the house. Just kind of keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. And so,
that sounds very materialistic.
Totally. So, the first couple policies, I'm just like, okay, this is what you do. This is a good wife. I'm being supportive and da-da-da-da-da. And then when it starts hurting.
That big premiums.
Yeah.
Premiums keep going up.
And it.
Or say bigger premiums.
And,
Larger.
And maybe I'm the only one who gets selfish in marriage. You tend to start kind of thinking, well, what about me? What about what I want? What about me? And it's like, okay, well, because we have always invested in the business.
Always.
And that was a hard lesson to learn as a young woman who meets and falls in love with a man who doesn't want to be tethered to a company, that wants to be independent and have freedom to do what you want to do in your career, entrepreneur, self-employed, whoever you call it. But I didn't understand at the time what it takes to be an entrepreneur, to be self-employed, the absolute time commitment, the work ethic you need to have to do that, and the amount of money that has to go into the venture. And, you have to take care of the business, just like two people have to take care of a marriage. Mm-hmm. You have to be a good steward to your business mm-hmm. and do right by the business. And so, so much of your income when we started out just went directly to the business. My job was to keep us afloat mm-hmm. personally, but your job was to keep the business afloat. So, back to infinite banking, it was like, okay, well, this is going to be important to, for the business. But I didn't really understand what it was doing for us. And
I'm saying, it's a truth about money. Well, what does that mean?
Well, and I'll be honest, I can be very short-sighted when it comes to finances, and that's one thing Nelson did for me. With such an important lesson, because he was a forester, if you did not know that. And so, he knew how to think long term. And that is so important with infinite banking is the long term. It's not, the immediate gratification. And that is something I didn't understand, and you tried to teach me, and maybe it's because it came from Nelson, and he talks so beautifully, but right. He helped me realize that, IBC is a long-term not game, but a long-term investment, a long-term way of looking at things. But, fourth policy in, and we don't have a lot of the stuff I want, I start getting a hard time. Yeah, because it's like, how are you going to get the money? And,
And I did not know.
Yeah. And that irritated me.
To know in.
It really irritated me because I needed to know where it was going to come from.
And I got to say, too, that, and on purpose, I mean, we continued to buy policies after that. And then let me say that she does not know how many policies that we have. She does not know the premium that we pay. She has an idea.
I think I'm in the ballpark.
Of course, but it's...
Maybe circling the parking lot a little bit, but close to the ballpark.
My point being is we continue to buy policies.
Yes.
All right. And so where did the changeover, how did that happen with you? I know Nelson's thinking long term, and and you've heard Nelson more than anyone, and whenever we probably hosted Nelson 30-ish times, I don't know, a lot.
Long time.
All right. And when you're setting up the event and running the event and making sure the attendees are, attended to, it's not like you've got to sit and listen to Nelson 10 hours every time. You've heard
bits and pieces here and there.
Right. You've heard his whole presentation more than once, but it might not have been, and it wasn't all at one time. Right. So, and you're a reader, I know that you've read Nelson's book back in the day, and so that helps somewhat, but not really.
Well, no, not really when it comes to your family and your lifestyle. And again, when I wanted certain things, material things, and it was either get that material thing or have another, buy another
and
policy.
And that very common. It's either or. You can't have the policy and that.
Yeah.
Right. Which is turned out not to be true.
Yeah.
Right. And we can ask if there's anything that you don't have that you want, but I'm just saying that, right.
A 6-pack ab. I don't have that.
How did you get
over that?
Yeah. Did you just be resigned? You love me. You're committed. So you got to do it. I want to do.
First and foremost, yes.
Ooh.
First and the
brute
trust.
Force.
Yeah. No. Well, at the end of the day, I trust you. I trust you with my life. I trust you in your knowledge. You don't enter into things lightly. And so because of that, I knew it was the right thing, but I was also getting really tired of sacrificing for the company, which I think is kind of common when you are self-employed.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, how much do we have to keep putting into the business? But,
whatever it takes.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever it takes. And, as you expand, it's going to cost more money. So it was a good thing that we were expanding and reaching more people and getting more interest and all of that. And, I think meeting Nelson was huge in listening to him. And it's like, this guy knows what he's talking about. This is something. Seeing you enjoying yourself. I mean, and really finding your calling as a teacher. Being a student of Nelson, but then in turn being a teacher, seeing that. And then, I think we just got to the point that, I was making some more money, and so it wasn't that constant drain of finances where it was just like, am I paying the light bill or am I paying the phone? That kind of stuff. We had a little bit of breathing room in our own personal finances.
Yeah, but we had that before we met Nelson. So
yeah, but then we're taking some of that money and putting it in life insurance too. So we weren't necessarily expanding personally, the bigger house, the newer cars and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of where my focus wanted to be. And, because you did shift the focus of the company, really, once you met Nelson, I mean, it was a paradigm shift of,
no question.
Like, people need to know this stuff. We need to get the word out. We need to, whatever it takes. Well, when you change that, you shift that focus, with that comes, more investment again, more time and energy and all that kind of stuff. So, while we had some of that breathing room, some of that breathing room went away when you shift the focus of the business. And then we started, expanding even more and all of that kind of stuff. But, to answer your question that you posed a long time ago, I don't
forgot
know
what it was.
What helped me get over that hump of being accepting to it. I think it was a combination of factors. Honestly, it wasn't just one thing. And it happened over, the course of time.
Yeah. All right. So, which I completely agree with you. I want to speak to the house. I say this a lot because it's true. I don't know, some time ago, a gentleman had came into the office. It was an appointment that was scheduled through the front office. I had never met the gentleman. Mm-hmm. And when I did meet him, I was walking into our conference room next door. And he stood up and we introduced, and he said, "Oh yeah, I've met you." And I'm at a blank. I may not remember names, but I typically remember faces, right? And I had never met the man. I said, "No, I don't know." He said, yeah. Well, we live in, 20 miles south of Fort Worth, Texas, right on top of the Barnett Shale gas, whenever that was discovered in fracking.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
The technology of fracking to get the gas out of the rock, it was going on all over Johnson County, Texas. Mm-hmm. And so these oil production companies, drilling companies, were calling almost weekly, trying to buy your mineral rights. Yes. And then it was, well, can we run fracking pipe? Right. So they crack the rock.
And the mineral rights are, the rights to the land underneath your house. Yes. Right. Yeah.
Okay. And we own our mineral rights, right? Because we bought a HUD foreclosure. There's a whole story to that too. So this gentleman, his job for the company that he was with was to run the fracking water pipes and pick them up. So when they're drilling a well and they're fracking, it takes a lot of this frack water. So these pipes are on top of the surface for, 4 to 6 weeks, whatever they are. Mm-hmm. She's just pointing out it's 58 minutes. Okay. So the guy, he's like, and this is a third time the companies had put fracking pipes across our property. And it got to the point where they're calling and say, "Hey, James, we're fracking. Can we run this pipe on your land?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just, take care of, shut the gates." We had cows at the time, take care of it and clean it up. And, "Oh, yeah. Well, this was a third time that I remember. This guy called and he said, "Hey, can we put these pipes on your land?" And I said, "Yeah, well, how big of a check can you write?" Because they would pay you for that, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, "Well, whatever, this is my limit." And I said, "Well, write a check, because I didn't care, just take care of it." Mm-hmm. And so, and I didn't think anything about it, right? Mm-hmm. So now I'm meeting this gentleman in my office, walking there. He said, "No, I've met you before." And I said, "No, I don't think so." He said, "Yeah, I met you at one of your rent houses." Mm-hmm. So he's talking about our home being a rent home.
Thinking it's a rent
home. We don't have any rent houses.
It's a cute house.
It's a
we
very
live
cute
in
house.
A really cute house. So,
right.
Let's kind of clear that up.
I digress a little bit, but
yeah, it's not a mansion, but it's our cute little country home.
It's a beautiful home. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we continue to purchase policies. You're angry in the beginning. Over time,
resignation turned to acceptance.
Right. And so we continued buying policies.
We did.
We're going to buy new policies this year.
Oh, we are?
Yes, we are.
Oh, awesome.
Okay. See, and then.
I didn't know, but cool.
Yep. And.
So how long have we had policies now? So it's been longer than Riley.
Nelson.
Right? So it's been.
I think our oldest policy is 2020. Mm-hmm. I think 2003 or 4.
Okay.
So let's say 2004. That'd be 16 years this year. All right. And now we financed automobiles.
We did.
We have financed real estate.
We have.
We have rehabbed real estate.
We have.
We have financed European vacations.
Yes, we have.
More than one.
Yes.
All right. And I mean, we had the pleasure of spending a week or so in Austria.
With Nelson.
And Mary. And I remember he was about 79 or 80 years of age because him and Mary
They
outwalked.
walked circles around us.
And
Mary had a huge blister on her foot, and she was always dressed to the nines, no matter if we were going to go get pizza. Like one night we did walk to go get pizza, and always had heels on, not like stilettos, but always had 1 or 2 inch heel on. Walking on the cobblestone, walking on the uneven sidewalk, and her hair perfect, and
nary a complaint.
Never complained.
All right.
And the only time I even knew about the blister is she had said something
she needed a Band-Aid.
something to Nelson about, this shoe has put a hole in my foot or something like that. And I'm like, well, do you need a Band-Aid? She's like, oh, I'd love one. And that was the extent of her complaint about having this awful blister on her foot. But yeah, they walked circles around us. They were incredible.
Yeah. Well, so what I appreciate, because that was kind of a realization for me, the anger, back 4th or 5th policy, and you're like, where are we going to get the money? And like, I don't know. And that ticked you off even more. But since then, we've continued to buy policies. We've done the things that we were going to do anyway. And actually, we've done some things that we would have never have done, my opinion.
Okay.
I don't know that we would have been on the 3rd or 4th. I don't know how many times we've been to Europe, but I don't know if we would have. Never in my mind did I think that I'm going to be in Europe with my whole family more than once or twice.
Well, let's be honest. I mean,
please let's be.
Way back in the day, because when the boys were little, we never traveled. I mean, our idea of traveling was seeing my parents in Des Moines. That was, and we did go down to Galveston once.
I remember that
Jake
being our
had never
first
seen
vacation.
the ocean, so we did do that. But truly traveling, we didn't do. But do you remember when I had the first time I brought up going on a cruise or something like that?
Oh, I had a cow.
And you weren't going to leave the United States. You were like, I don't want to go anywhere where, a foreign flag is the one that has jurisdiction kind of thing. And so, but then do you remember the first time we touched down? I guess it was Austria, the first time we went to Austria with Nelson. And we touched down. And we're driving in the cab to our hotel or whatever. And I looked over at you, and what did I say? Do you remember?
No.
You are going to love it here. Because the history, until you go over to Europe, you don't really understand history. They've been there longer than we've been a country. And, and it just it hits you as soon as you're there. In the buildings and stuff like that. It's beautiful.
I remember prior to that, and I had just returned from France that previous fall.
No, you went to France after we went to Austria the first time.
Okay. So my timing's a little off. Okay. But I do remember you said, what's it going to cost to go to Austria? And I said, I don't know. And I remember when we got back.
Look at me asking all of these pesky little questions.
I remember when we got back, I asked you, what was it worth?
Oh.
Do you remember that?
Touche. Yes, I do remember that.
Okay. All right. So
it was worth every penny. No
question. And even we've had comments from Riley's teachers how the expansion of her mind and
the way she just approaches things is different because she has traveled. And the sad thing is we started traveling with her first trip. I can't even think. She was probably 5 or 6.
She was 2.
Well, the first cruise. But I'm just saying, when we took her overseas.
I don't remember.
And a lot of other mothers would say, why would you take her over there? Not only, doesn't that make you nervous and, potentially dangerous and all that kind of stuff, but she's not going to remember it anyway. And I've always said, but it shapes her foundation. Mm-hmm. Like now, she's 12. She really doesn't remember some of the earlier trips. Sure. And you can tell her memories getting foggy on some stuff, which makes me kind of sad because I want her to remember those experiences so much. But, that's the way it is. But I still think it has shaped the person that she is, the student that she is. And so, I have no regrets to, I wish I could take more people, but I can't.
So today, we have financed these things, most of which we were going to finance anyway.
Yeah.
We finance our taxes on an annual basis every year.
too.
And you make the loan repayments.
Yes.
I mean,
Well, you tell me to make the one. This is how much I need, or we need.
yeah, but you're like we financed a swimming pool. That's coming out of the household.
Oh, actually, yes. Yeah.
All right. And, we financed a down payment on an automobile. Are you making loan repayments on that? Because if you're not, we're going to have a problem.
I'll get back to you on that.
But
I believe so, yeah.
well, my whole point is, we pay premium and we pay loan repayments consistently, and I don't get pushback. We passed the days of how are we going to do this?
Yes.
Where's the money going to come from? And I can legitimately say, I don't know, and you're still going to be okay.
Yes.
But we have not gone without. We've done more things than we thought we were going to ever be able to do.
Well, and I think that's where a lot of the pushback, your word, came from is, the unknown. And, even in our poorest days, we didn't go without. I mean, not
I grew up poor and didn't know it.
Yeah, right. So, we've never truly gone without what's important. But, what infinite banking has done for us, personally and professionally, is offer a freedom that I don't want to sound like an infomercial, but it does. It offers you a freedom to do with your money what you want, when you want. I wouldn't change it for the world. I can't imagine going back to regular banking. You know what I mean? And going through just
have 2 years tax returns, all the K1s.
Oh my gosh, just all
have
the
your
minutia
CPA
and
sign
all
off on it.
The red tape and
right
the
above the disclaimer that says, these numbers are being provided by the client.
When we got our house and all of the information and
I remember squirming at the closing table.
Y'all, I wish I could demonstrate to you what he did at the closing. You were out of your chair and kneeling on the ground, and you had your little sweat rag going on, and you're just kind of doing. I can't do it without looking ridiculous, but
some 22-year-old, banker
dictating whether.
Oh,
but I
gosh.
remember when we were going.
No disparagement to the 22-year-old bankers.
Never,
I love you.
never.
Just me being in the position that I'm beholden to a third-party lender is why I was uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, and then all of the paperwork, and then last minute, the deal might not go through because we need this. And
did you borrow any money? Did you?
Yes.
Where's this money coming from?
Or did your parents give you any money?
You selling
and then
drugs?
you have to do, all that kind of stuff. And it was one hurdle. I mean, and just so stressful in that amount of time because we really wanted the home and it had the land and all that kind of stuff. So, you did good coming up with the infinite banking concept right there. Not coming up with it, but embracing it,
catching it, paying attention,
reading that book on the nightstand.
That's right. Anything else that we need to cover? I mean, anything that we've left out? You want to crack on me? Here's your opportunity to crack on me if you'd like.
I never crack on him, ever. I only give him adulation.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So, if just like earlier when I said we're going to buy policies this year, and we are, and you just said, "Oh, we are okay." Are you really okay with that, or are you just saying that because the mic's on?
I'm really okay with it.
Why are you okay with it?
Because I know what it does, and I know the benefit.
Perfect.
We have for it, so
you're not going to have to give anything up.
I hope not. More blood.
Yep. All right. Well, listen.
Wait.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Since I have a camera and a microphone, I have a joke for y'all.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So why did the cowboy buy himself a dachshund. Anyone? Do you know this? He wanted to get a long little doggy.
Yeah, all right.
It's my favorite joke of all time.
All right, let me tell you this. We're just came from a tour of Trinity College in Ireland to see the Book of Kells. And it was with a life insurance company sponsored trip. We take our whole family when we go and make a vacation out of it. And so a week-long thing or whatever it was, I got to say this. And we missed our flight. Okay, so we're flying from Dallas-Fort Worth to Dublin.
Philadelphia. No, to Philadelphia.
A layover in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And then to Dublin, Ireland.
But we got stuck on the tarmac in DFW because of thunderstorms.
Right. So that caused us to miss our connecting flight in Philadelphia. We get in late at night, which turned out to be a complete home run because the family had a great time in Philadelphia.
We spent the day because we couldn't get another flight out till the following evening, so we were stuck in Philly for the day.
And we'd never been to Philly.
And I said a little prayer when I knew that more than likely we were going to miss our connecting, that, Lord, help me make this easy for the family. Don't let me get upset and riled and just frustrated and angry and all that kind of stuff. Let me see the blessing in this. And as he always does, the Lord provided.
It was a huge blessing.
It was. And we had Philly cheesesteaks like at 1 o'clock in the morning, and we met a lovely bellhop or a cab driver that tickled us. And then we got to run on the steps of the museum like Rocky did. We have pictures of that. We
seen the Liberty Bell, Liberty Hall.
Liberty Bell.
Took the tour, Ben Franklin.
And the first post office. And then we were all kind of sweaty by the time we got on the plane. It was a hot day.
I got to say that she's our trip coordinator when we go on vacation. I mean, it's bell to bell. We're doing something. When we come home, we got to recover from our vacation.
We don't really relax on vacation. I should probably look into that. But go ahead with your story about Trinity College.
The next day, after Philly, the day after that night, whenever we get the flight to Shannon,
Dublin,
and we flew out. We flew home from Shannon.
Yes.
Okay, so we're flying into Dublin. We have jet lag like nobody's business. We go take this tour of Trinity College where, the Irish people tried to preserve the knowledge of Western civilization.
Amazing library.
Amazing.
Oh, my goodness. But yes.
Then we're going to dinner with the CEO, the chairman of the board, not CEO, the chairman of the board of this Fortune 50 company, okay? And
sitting at a table of other people we don't really know, but they know each other.
Yeah, they all know each other.
But we don't know them, and they don't know us.
Right.
And then we got this big
and they set us right beside the chairman of the board,
yes,
who is a fabulous individual and a stellar joke teller.
He's not.
He absolutely is. Look, he could watch us, so just whatever.
It was entertaining, sir. However,
so
it droned on after a while.
And he's there. He went because he has Irish heritage,
yes,
and he was seeing, family from previous generations.
True.
Okay, so we're sitting at this table. It's a big posh deal.
And you are beyond jet lagged.
I am brain dead.
You just are like this.
Because when we landed, I went to find some Cuban cigars, and y'all took a nap.
Yeah, like an hour-long one. So, but then I didn't realize at the time. Not only does it stays daylight the time we were there, like in June, I think is when we were there. It stays daylight till 10 o'clock in the evening. So we were kind of in the basement, if you will, of this lovely restaurant. And so you could see a sliver of
sunlight at 10 o'clock in the evening.
But made you lose track of time. Right. Another thing that made you lose track of time is I didn't realize unless you cover your wine glass, they just keep refilling it.
Yep.
This is important to the story because he's jet lagged. So
brain dead.
And I'm pretty jet lagged too. And I'm feeling a little awkward because I don't know any of these people at the table. But again, like I said, they knew each other. So they're all telling inside jokes and catching up with one another and dressing up their dogs and all the stuff that they do, and which was cute, but I didn't know them, and they weren't,
they're nice people.
They're very nice people, but I felt awkward. So I say all that to say I drank a lot of wine. And I didn't realize how much wine I drank because my timing was like, because I was thinking it was going to get dark.
Yeah.
So for some reason, like knowing the time would be like, oh, a lot of time has passed.
It's going to curb your wine.
Yeah, or, be like, oh, well, maybe I don't know why. For some reason I thought
well, you were jet lagged too.
I was jet lagged and I don't know how much wine I had. All I know is I never capped my glass off and he kept coming around with it.
And it was, nice wine. I don't even drink. It was nice wine. You can see the effects, right?
Yeah.
So the chairman of the board sitting here telling fabulous
and
jokes.
Everyone's going.
And then she tells that joke.
Well, after he got done, after the chairman got done, and everyone's like, "Oh, you should have a stand-up special." Oh, you're so funny. I was like,
these are family memories that we still joke about.
And so I'm thinking, however many glasses of wine in, like, I'm funny. As you do after you've had too much wine. And I'm like, I've got a joke. And the whole table like turns and looks at me. One, you probably shouldn't tread on the footprints of the person hosting the event. Like his whole shtick was to tell a joke. So you shouldn't like try to one-up him in the joke telling department. That's kind of tacky. And then
is that what you were trying to do? Is one-up him?
Oh, I just wanted to show people what humor really was. What it really was. And so I'm like, I got a joke, and whether I slurred it or not, I have no idea. That was fabulous. And so I told that joke that I told.
And he loved it.
Well, it was met with.
It was so funny. It was met with this.
Yeah, he did this. I don't know what that means.
He loved it.
Well, this
Come to find out.
me does not signify love it. But the rest of the table was like, I'm like, that's so much funnier than what he said. But okay, sorry, I digressed.
No problem. Well, here I know we're going to wrap it up here, but I want to also bring up that in 2013 I produced a documentary style video called Banking with Live DVD. All right, now.
And you're going to do a follow-up pretty soon, aren't you?
I've got 2 movies in the works and 3 books.
Good stuff, y'all.
I'm
good
just
stuff.
short on time.
I know, but it's going to be good.
All right. And so, we travel all over the country, getting this film footage. And there's like 52 minutes edited. And that's 2013. That was the year. It was a 100-year anniversary of the Federal Reserve. Okay, not by coinkydink. Okay. So this Banking with Life DVD, if you haven't watched it, you should get it. That's my shameless plug.
You really should. It's good.
It's not a promotion of me or us. It's the idea that, you can become your own banker. So it introduces the infinite banking concept, sound money, Austrian economics, natural law, unscripted.
Really, really good. And we have clients in there, and we have economists and Nelson. I mean, it's good. Okay,
so while we're doing it, and that was truly a labor of love, and it took well over a year to do that. My mother passed in the end
2013.
Of the first quarter of 2013.
April 2013.
Okay, and so, I mean, it was traumatic, just the effort to put that together, and then my mother passing. We've heard Nelson. We have practiced the infinite banking concept a long time. And so the final edited video, it's DVD. Yes, it's plastic. You have to put it into a machine. I get it. We don't have a download yet. I know it's 2020. We're trying to get into the 21st century. But you and I watched that. We got the DVD in cellophane wrapper, opened it up, put it in the player. And do you remember that? Had popcorn. And so you're paying premium. You've heard Nelson umpteen times. We've got lots of clients. You're paying loan repayments. We finance whatever we financed up until that point in time. Okay. Do you remember your response after watching that Banking with Life DVD?
I don't remember my exact response. I know I was blew away by it. I thought it was, and I'm not financially sound or strong. I mean, I don't find that interesting. By and large, I thought it was phenomenal.
Right. And see, and I've always relied on you to be the.
We call me Joe Average.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm a Midwestern girl. I'm fine with that. I'm kind of an average of how people will respond to things.
Right. So I can't get too click funnely or marketing or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, a great sounding board. You said every wife should watch this.
Yes.
And
absolutely. Because
I was surprised because of all that you had already known and done in your experiences that it made that kind of an impact on you.
There's something about it that is, that DVD to me gives the concept credibility, if that makes any sense. You can read books and you can, and you think, well, maybe there's an agenda behind it, or that's just someone's opinion or something like that. But when you watch the DVD and you see so many incredible people, I mean, truly incredible people, and they're explaining it to you in a simple, very kind of simple, matter-of-fact way. And then you see what it's done for the different clients, because there's testimonials in there that are powerful. Lori, who's a client and a friend now, it's incredible. I just think if there's any sort of apprehension about the concept, if there's any kind of lingering question, or is this for real? It's just life insurance. That kind. When you watch the DVD, it really alleviates that. It really does, because to me it's that powerful. It really is.
I think it is powerful. And your reaction was almost like confirmation that that was a good work.
Oh,
what I mean? And two, I think everyone should read Nelson's Becoming Your Own Banker, his second book, Building Your Warehouse of Wealth. And you really should watch that Banking with Life DVD. And typically, in a family, often one reads more than the other. And maybe one deals more with money and finance than the other. So if you're a reader, you should read the book. Even if you're not a reader, you should read the book. But
it's an easy read.
So
really even if you aren't a reader, it's not like War and Peace, or what was that ridiculous book that you gave me for Christmas that one year?
Man, Economy, and State.
Oh, Lord. Have y'all seen this book? Oh, my God.
Well, I gave you Bob Murphy's
little workbook, like how to trudge through this drivel. Sorry.
Oh.
I apologize.
I'm not going to edit that. Okay, so thanks. I just wanted to bring that up, but because I think you should buy Nelson's, both of his books, and the Banking with Life DVD.
Absolutely.
Until we have it streamed.
You won't regret it. You won't. It will do wonders for your family. I promise.
So anything else you want to touch on?
Just thanks for inviting me. This was fun.
Would you like to do a follow-up? Would you like to come back?
Well, doesn't that depend on like how many likes we get, or clicks or something like that? Whatever it is.
Yeah, it depends on how many.
Y'all share this, because it's going to hurt my heart and my ego if like this is the least viewed one. Because I will take that totally personally.
Do we need to promote this one?
Yes. And especially like over Ryan. If I could beat Ryan, that would be fun. Because he's like, he's like really smart, and y'all have your
but he
little thing going on.
I don't know how many episodes we've done with him and I. I mean,
I know. So it would be nice if I got more likes, just so I could say I got more likes than you.
Okay.
So yeah, share it, like it, log in as somebody else and like it again.
Set up a couple of accounts and hit the like.
If you're going to comment, say nice things, because I'm fragile.
Oh no, the listeners are very nice.
Oh, that's good.
There's trolls everywhere, but we don't have.
I've been on Twitter too much lately, so I think that's why I get concerned.
Okay. So. Too much social interaction there with social media.
Twitter is just they think they're going to change each other's mind, and they never do. So, and I don't ever comment.
Who has time for all that? Who has time to? I mean, I barely have time to release a podcast.
Like people who
like
truly tweet a lot of tweets a day. I don't know.
All right.
So I don't know the answer to that. I don't.
Okay, so be nice, like and subscribe. She would like to have more likes than Ryan, so she can hang that over his head.
And I will do so. proudly.
Okay, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. This was fun. Thank you, honey. Happy Valentine's Day. I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
Mwah.
Thank you for joining us on the Banking with Life podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and click on that little notification bell. Otherwise, join us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher for weekly content.